Yo, what's going on? I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We are live, and we are going to talk about a few stories tonight. Shout out to my sis Bernie for dropping the first. I don't know if this is a good move or not. Okay, it's going to be interesting. I think there's two gaps. It's either people who love it or people who hate it. Very few people who would like you who would like wait and see if this is going to be a good thing. We're going to talk about it as always. I'm Marcus here. We do attorney reactions to current events, trending news, all of that good stuff. Hey, shout out to you all. I'm appreciative of everybody who likes, shares, subscribe, comment, who hit the dislike button. A big salute to the channel members. All y'all, I rock with y'all. I'm appreciative. I'm grateful. I'm just really excited that you all are supporting me. So shout out to you all. Now, this story we're going to cover, in this video, we are going to cover a few stories. First, we're going to take a look at police officers who are defending their body cam footage policy when Deputy Attorney General is taken into custody. Then we're going to pivot to a good old-fashioned scam story, a scam story where it sounds like another one where I don't want to victim blame, but it's kind of giving... It's kind of crazy. On a DFD scamometer, this scam, when we talk about stupidity versus very sophisticated, is very stupid. I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm blaming somebody. Then after that, we're going to pivot and we're going to go to good old Illinois. We're going to go to the South suburban area. And shout out to Chicago. Shout out to the South suburban area. I really need to go out there and run for office. I just really need to go out there, run for office, get a couple of positions so I can make $400,000, $500,000. I'm going to do my job. I'm not going to steal from y'all. I'm not going to take bribes. I'm not going to misappropriate any funds. I will collect 2 salaries, though. I definitely will do that. But at least if I go there and I collect 2 salaries, I'm going to actually do what y'all put me there to do. I'm just going to get a bag, the legal bag. But we're going to pivot and check out a school superintendent who's making like $500,000. How the hell did this happen? If you're a school superintendent making $500,000, I don't want no kids. You want to talk about no kid left behind? Like, it can't be any kid who like can't read or don't know how to do the algebra, basic arithmetic. Is completely unacceptable if the superintendent is making $500,000 a year. I mean, that's crazy. That's a crazy amount of money. And last but not least, we're going to take a look at President Trump's DC Takeover. We're going to dive a little bit into the Home Rule Act, but we're really going to take a deep dive into the Posse Comitatus Act, which, like I said in the previous video, it's a law that put restrictions on how military forces can be used in law enforcement capacity on the civilian side. So I actually took a deep look into the statute because I was like, wait, they're bringing National Guards from West Virginia to the urban city. This could be a terrible thing, but we're going to dive into all of it. Let's go ahead, check out some of these comments. Hey, Paul, what is going on? I appreciate you for tuning in. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay. All right. I was shocked. Okay. I already knew. When I pulled the comment up, I already knew it was either going to be hilarious or you was going to either try to fire me up. It was one of the two with you. Is a very narrow spectrum of comments that you're going to leave. So, hey, shout out to you, R. Royster. I appreciate you dropping that comment. All right. Let's take a look at this very first video about the use of body cam footage. And I think the moral of this is if you're an attorney and you get arrested and you're going to ask an officer to do something on camera, make sure you cite the law correctly.
12 News has obtained body-worn footage of a top state prosecutor's arrest last week.
I want you to turn your body cam off. The protocol is that you turn it off.
Newport police say special.
Now, the first thing I noticed in this video is, we just gotta keep it. We gotta call it like we see it. There's a lot of white people in this video, okay? So, and they got on suits. They're dressed nice. So the fact that this was a trespassing thing, in order for in order for a white woman to be trespassed from what appears to be a nice establishment, she had to have gotten on somebody's nerves or be in there showing her ass. They just don't go trespassing folks from fine establishments like this for no reason.
Newport police say Special Assistant Attorney General Devin Flanagan faces a trespassing charge after she was asked to leave a restaurant Thursday night. But with Flanagan accusing police of not following protocol, we wanted to find out what the policy is for body-worn footage. Kate Wilkinson joins us live in studio with what she's learned.
Now, just real quick, a quick pause. Most law enforcement are going to have their body-worn camera policy actually published on the website. You probably can find DEAs, FBI's. It's a way to keep the relationship with the public on the up and up.
Yeah, Newport police defended keeping that body camera on, saying Flanagan was a suspect in a trespassing investigation, not a victim.
Buddy, you're going to regret this. Yeah. You're going to regret it.
Those were the parting words.
She told you, you're going to regret it. If I was a cop, I would really want to lock her up. I would love to put her in the car. I wonder if they hit her head on the roof like they do black folks when they throw us in the car. Most of us.
Buddy, you're going to regret this. Yeah. You're going to regret it.
Those were the parting words from Special Assistant Attorney General Devin Flanagan as an officer put her in the back of a police cruiser. Police say they were called to Bannister's Wharf because someone was refusing to leave the restaurant.
You were right, Mary. I saw your comment. She was too drunk. She refused to leave the restaurant. You were right.
When officers arrived, they found Flanagan and others outside.
I'm an AG.
Good for you. I don't give a shit. Let's go.
I'm an AG. And his response, good for you. I don't give a shit. Let's go.
Found Flanagan and others outside.
I'm an AG.
Good for you. I don't give a shit. Let's go.
But before she was arrested for trespassing, Flanagan was asking the police officer to turn off his body camera.
I want you to turn your body camera off. Protocol is that you turn it off. If a citizen requests it to turn it off.
Flanagan and
that don't even make any sense. Okay, before I even finish this video, this actually makes no sense to me at all. If a citizen requests you to turn the body camera off, you have to turn it off. If that was the case, everybody who was arrested ever would have been like, hey, bro, turn that body camera off while you're making this arrest. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, she's either stupid or drunk and stupid and doesn't know what she's talking about, because that rule wouldn't even make any sense.
Protocol is that you turn it off. If a citizen requests it to turn it off.
Flanagan and another woman were arrested in the incident. When 12 News asked Newport police what their body-worn camera protocol is, a spokesperson wrote, the individuals arrested were suspects in a trespass investigation, not victims or a witness. I also looked into the Newport police policy on their website. There it shows that the body camera can be turned off if a witness or victim requests it, if the situation is not confrontational, and if the victim agrees to cooperate.
Hey, as somebody who's been in this law enforcement game for a while, I actually like that rule. I think that's a fair rule. One, some victims just not going to be want to be on camera, and if they want to turn it off, they're agreeing to cooperate. So whatever you would get on camera, you're going to get from them because they're agreeing to cooperate. And, again, people are sensitive about being on camera depending on what the situation is. So I actually don't think that is that terrible of a rule.
I'm an AG.
The Attorney General's office says it's investigating the incident. We reached out to Flanagan for comment, but did not hear back.
Hey, real talk, I actually kind of like when privileged people get arrested. I don't know. When privileged people get arrested, for some reason, I don't know why, I get a little bit of value, personal value out of it. Hey, sometimes who you are and what you do can get you out of trouble, but not on this officer's watch. So shout out to her. Yeah, I agree. She should lose her job. Because I'm being honest. honest, a trespass I don't really give a damn about. Like if I'm in charge of a shop and one of my attorneys get arrested for trespassing, I don't think that's like that big of a deal. It could happen to anybody for a misunderstanding. Like a trespass to me is like a DUI that's not crazy. Now, if it's a crazy DUI, you falling all over the place, you hitting people's cars and shit, but like crazy. But there's plenty of judges and attorneys out there who've gotten DUIs. They blow slightly over the limit. It was a driver's license checkpoint. So I generally agree with a trespassing is not that big of a deal to me. It's not something that goes to your integrity, but you are 100% right, Paul, in this scenario. What goes to your integrity is trying to use your job and role to get out of trouble. Let me get arrested for some shit. Ain't nobody gonna know where I work at and what I do. I'm gonna just shut the hell up, because otherwise, had she not said anything, this story wouldn't have been on the news. So like, let me get arrested. I'll be like, hey, I want to talk to my attorney. That's all I'm saying, and I'm getting in the car. But I definitely agree with you. The fact that she tried to use her position to finesse her way out of this situation, and just the blatant not even knowing the law, which you probably should know. Yeah, I agree. She should probably lose her job because of this. They have cops in that state. Yeah, that cop didn't give a damn. Yeah, that could cause problems. I agree. Is that fair to the accused? That's a good question. So their policy, let's talk about that real quick. Hey, shout out to you. Hey, that wasn't something funny and it wasn't a shot at me. Shout out to you for switching up. I like that. Okay, so let's talk about it. Their policy is that if it's a victim or witness who doesn't want to be on camera, they'll cut the camera off so long as the victim or witness agrees to cooperate. Generally, you're 100% right. There's a certain level of fairness that has to be afforded to a person who's arrested, who's a defendant. I don't think that policy does anything to be unfair or biased against the person accused of the crime or the victim, the person who arrested. And the only reason I say so is, let's say I go to a house. It's I don't know. Let's say it's a domestic violence thing. The guy's in the car. I got the camera running because nobody's going. I mean, one, people probably don't even know that law. So I would be shocked if people actually are like, "Hey, excuse me, good sir, can you cut that camera off?" Most people probably don't even know that that's on the books. But let's say I get there. I throw the abusive woman. See, I thought I was gonna say a guy. Woman be abusing guys too. I throw the woman in the car and I'm like, okay, you're under arrest. This guy's getting his ass whipped. He all scratched up and everything. And then I go over to talk to the guy. He like, yeah, I'll tell you what happened, but can you cut your camera off? I don't see the inherent thing that would be unfair against the defendant. The story that the person is going to tell would have been one that they would have told off camera, on camera. The only way I think, and I don't know, I wouldn't even say it would be unfair, but it does limit, if I'm putting on my defense attorney cap, cutting off the camera could be more unfavorable to the defense attorney, but I don't think it's unfair, because if the camera's on, you have a possibility to catch statements as they're being made, as opposed to solely relying on the officer's notes of those statements. So me personally, I would prefer in a situation like that, if I'm a defense attorney, have the camera on, because there may be something that I could pick up, something that's being said from somebody in the background, something that's being said from the victim that may be inconsistent with what they later on put in writing or say on the stand. So I don't think it's inherently unfair, but I do agree that from a defense standpoint, it limits the amount of information I could get that I could potentially use. Like I remember once I was at a stoplight and the guy just ran in the back of my car. I was pissed too. It's my favorite car. ran into the back of my car, and I got out, and something just told me to cut on the camera. And I cut on the camera on my phone because at first I thought the dude was trying to run. So I hopped out the car. I was like, nah, bro, it ain't gonna be that type of party. I hopped out the car. I was like, nah, bro, you think you go? Like, real talk, I blocked the dude from getting in his car. Like, you're not gonna hit me and just leave. That shit is not going down like that. But as soon as I got out, something told me to just start hitting record. And you know, when you hit record in a stressful situation, it's not gonna be all this beautiful footage. Your camera, phone gonna be bouncing around and everything. But sure enough, this dude told his insurance company that I was at a stoplight, which makes no sense, and I backed up into him. But because I actually had the video recording, an audio piece of that video was actually pertinent to the facts. In the audio, you could hear him say, he's like, why would you stop your car like that? You're a very disrespectful driver to just stop your car like that in the middle of the street. And that was enough to show that, like, yeah, I clearly stopped the car and you ran into me. So that's the only thing I think. I don't think it's unfair inherently, but I think as a defense attorney, I would like to leave that camera on just because there may be something there that I could get that I could actually use. But that was a great question. Shout out to you. Embarrassing. I agree. Yeah, I agree. That's facts. You want to see how the person reacts. She could be reacting how Sha'Carri Richardson was acting when she beat the hell out of her boyfriend and got arrested. Hey, I'm just saying there's a story that's happening that's out there. I saw that video. I was like, yeah, she whipped his ass a lot. I could tell from watching that video. Hey, what is going on, Foxy to Roxy? I appreciate you tuning in. All right, so let's go ahead, pivot to our next video of the night. We're going to talk about a fraud thing. And generally, it's either two types of fraud schemes that I'm going to show on this channel. One that's very good, where when I see it, I'm like, I can see how that can get some people. Or it's the complete polar opposite. It's a scheme that's so dumb, even though I don't like the victim blame, but I do when it comes to dumbass fraud schemes. So let's go ahead and check this one out. Y'all let me know, is this a sophisticated scheme or is this just somebody being finessed? Take a look at who the victim is. This is something we talked about before. Certain populations are always targeted. Please, people, if you don't know, something sounds weird, have somebody you could call who's going to point you, who's going to not lead you astray. Now let's go right there.
A doorbell camera capturing the moment this Mebane woman says she...
Stop. Look at this video right here. One of the most vulnerable populations when it comes to scams are senior citizens, people who just not hip. Literally, sometimes my mother will literally call and be like, my father will call and be like, man, I got a text message about a toll I didn't pay. And it was like, click the link. And the first thought I had was, man, I ain't drive through no motherfucking toll. So my father like, nah, bro, I'm not doing it. Even if I did drive through a toll, I'm probably not going to hit this link. I'm probably not even going to pay you if y'all stop bothering me. My mother, on the other hand, be like, I don't remember driving to a toll, but did I go to a toll? I'd be like, no, it's a scam. But at least she knows if she gets something that sounds a little crazy, she calls me. As soon as I saw this lady standing out here, I was like, damn. She was genuinely scared. Fraudsters normally play on two main things: greedy ass people, or they use fear to get people or convince them to fall for a finesse. And as soon as I saw this person right here, I already knew what it was. I feel bad because I wish she had somebody she could have called, but just check it out. It's terrible. And let's take a listen at how much cash was exchanged. This is the crazy part.
Handed over her savings of $17,500 in cash to a complete stranger.
Every morning I wake up and I'm like, I just want this nightmare to go away.
This woman, who asked us not to name her or show her face for fear of being a target again, but says she wants to share her heartache with hopes of preventing the scam from happening to someone else. It started when she was on her computer trying to log on to her bank account.
I put in my password and username and got to the website, but it wouldn't let me open my accounts.
She grabbed her cell phone and says she went to the number saved in her cell phone for her bank.
She says, oh, your account's been frozen. And I said, why? And she said, well, there was a suspicious charge from PayPal from the day before. And I said, well, I didn't make that.
She says she was transferred to what she thought was a PayPal fraud department, but the call quality was so bad that she ended the call and called a Florida number back. It's not clear how she got that Florida number.
This lady actually sounds very articulate as she's explaining it. She's explaining it in very detailed. So I don't think this lady is like foolish or a dumb woman at all. It's weird. She said she called back a number. There was a Florida number, but she doesn't know how she got that number. That's weird. I don't know. She clearly didn't look on the back of the card. So I'm a little confused because I think it said they called from a Virginia number. And she's unaware how she got that Florida number.
Quality was so bad that she ended the call and called a Florida number back. It's not clear how she got that Florida number. On the line with them, she says she was told the charge was for $82 and they said they could refund her, but she had to follow their instructions, which included downloading several things on her computer.
I don't know how computer savvy this woman is, but she was completely scared because of $82 and ended up losing $17,000.
Typed $82 and immediately looked up to the screen and it says $18,000. And then it goes accept, just like that. And I said to this man, I said, that's wrong. I said, that's not what I typed in. I said, that's a mistake.
At first glance, she says it looked like an extra $18,000 was deposited into her account. In reality, which she didn't know at the time, the scammer just transferred the money from her savings to checking.
What you have to do to fix it is you have to get cash, go to your bank and get cash.
Hesitant to follow his instructions, but she says this letter with a Bank of America logo came out of her printer.
That's actually crazy. The fact that this dude, she downloaded a gang of shit on her computer, which she didn't know was she downloaded a software virus, something that allowed this person to access her computer remotely and print something from her printer. The minute, you know how jacked up that would be. Trust me, it was times with DFD, I had bad credit and didn't pay his bills. I'd be fucking livid. Like, no, you ain't. As broke as I am, you're going to print out my delinquency notice on my paper using my ink. Like, that's actually crazy. But she downloaded some software to get this third-party access to a computer. That's the only way they were able to print out something on her computer. That probably should have been the biggest red flag. Even it's a bunch of red flags, but printing out some shit on my computer is actually crazy.
You have to get cash, go to your bank and get cash.
Hesitant to follow his instructions, but she says this letter with a Bank of America logo came out of her printer, stating there's a serious matter concerning your account, an unresolved tax issue related to a personal transaction from PayPal. As a result, online account transfers are temporarily blocked by the IRS. The letter goes on to state, we have not notified your local branch. It's crucial you refrain from discussing this transaction with them. Doing so may lead to freezing or seizing all funds in your account.
None of that makes sense. You get a letter from Bank of America and they say, listen to us, but don't go to your local branch and talk about this or you won't have your money, seizing your assets, all because of $82. Nobody's doing all of this for $82. I don't know where this woman's kids was at, or sisters, or anybody. Now, it actually gets worse because there was a money withdrawal and delivery here.
You can see the call with the person lasted over 4 hours.
He kept saying, don't hang up on me, don't hang up.
She did.
That actually, I take it back. All the shit I said that was red flags, that actually might be the biggest red flag. I don't know anybody in my family who would stay on a fucking phone call for 4 hours. Even when my great-great-grandmother, rest her soul, she was 105, I would call her to see how she was doing. And then as soon as I get off the phone, before I could say, I love you, Grandma, she'd be like, bye, and hang up the phone on me. I'd be like, damn. Like 4 hours and 11 minutes. Like, I even if I were a scammer, I don't got that type of bandwidth and attention to detail to stick out 4 hours on a damn phone finessing somebody. I mean, they got them. They already knew they had the hook in her, so she was going to fall for the scam. But 4 fucking hours should have been a major scam. 4 hours on the phone with a bank is crazy.
Stay on the line for over 4 hours. She drove to her bank and withdrew $17,500. As she says, a man told her she could keep $500 for her troubles.
The bank manager.
I'm sorry. This is actually a terrible story because this senior citizen was finessed. But no, he didn't try to tell her you can keep $500. You can keep $500 of your money for your troubles. That dude's an asshole. That's actually crazy.
Over, and he said, before we proceed, he said, are you being harassed? And I'm like, no, I'm not being pressured, because I didn't think I was. I didn't know I was being scammed.
She says she even signed a document saying she was taking this money out on her own free will. After getting the money, she continued to follow the caller's instructions, drove home. This letter, she says, printed from her printer, thanking her for returning the funds to PayPal, and a Mr. Jack has been assigned to collect the cash.
Mr. Jack? Come on now. Mr. Jack? Oh my goodness. This is just so terrible. This is so terrible. Like, real talk, banks should actually do a promotion where like they target their senior customers and say like, hey, if you ever get a call or email or anything from a financial institution, call this number. And like, real talk, anybody who a financial institution knows is over a certain age, or if they have documentation, if they know a person is over a certain age, they should have a hotline that's a 24-hour hotline they can call to check on it so this type of shit don't happen.
Not long after her doorbell camera catches this man coming to her door to pick up the cash. She handed over the cash, thinking the ordeal is over, and called her daughters to tell them about her long day.
4 hours that she was on the phone, and she called her daughters after being on the phone for 4 hours and then going to the bank and making this withdrawal. So this probably was a 5-hour total situation. She called her daughters after, not before, not during. She was just operating from a place of fear. She clearly had somebody she could have called and didn't until after she gave up the money.
Before I could hardly get this story out of my mouth, I was like, Mom, you've been scammed.
At first, she thought she was the only victim until she saw this man's mugshot, Lingwei Zhang.
If Lingwei Zhang come to my house, talk about, I'm from the bank. Well, let's rewind it back real quick. This dude showed up. He looking over his shoulder. He looking scared. He got on just like a white tee, like his 2003. If Lingwei Zhang showed up to my house, like, you're going to have some problems. Like, anybody would be able to spot this, but this lady was scared. She was acting from a place of fear. She got Bank of America letters that coming out her own damn printer at the house. So she fell for a hook, line, and sinker.
Before I could hardly get this story out of my mouth, I was like, Mom, you've been scammed.
At first, she thought she was the only victim until she saw this man's mugshot, Lingwei Zhang. She says it's the same guy that came to her door, and she handed over her $17,500. Zhang is charged with obtaining property under false pretenses in her case, and he, along with another suspect, are also facing charges in Person, Durham, and Granville counties of obtaining property under false pretenses, assessing computers, and felony conspiracy.
They in my old stomping ground, the Raleigh-Durham area. They in Orange County.
According to the Person County Sheriff, whose department was the first to make the arrest, the two suspects are living in this country without legal permission. The sheriff says they're currently working with the North Carolina SBI and the Department of Homeland Security to identify more victims and suspects.
SBI is just the State Bureau of Investigation.
And while the total amount of money scammed is unknown at this time, he says it's close to $400,000.
Lingwei Zhang and this boy got almost $400,000 doing this scam. I guarantee you all the victims are probably like 77 years old or older.
It never occurred to me that that there was going to be an evil person come into my life.
The financial loss is devastating, as a large chunk of the money gone is money she says is from an insurance policy to pay her medical bills when she fought cancer last year.
What I want people to know is just because you're tired that day, don't let your defenses down.
So heartbreaking that she fell for the scam. Now, the suspects are still behind bars at the Person County Detention Center, and investigators say the Department of Homeland Security has detainers in place. When it comes to the victim's bank, Bank of America, a representative told me they're investigating the case and can't comment until their investigation is complete. I'm troubleshooter Diane Wilson.
All right, that was actually a sad ass story. Man, that was actually a sad story. Once I heard what she used the money for, because I'm gonna be honest, I just read the headline and I watched the video. Then, as soon as she came out, I was like, oh, I figured it was an older person, but like, oh man, terrible story. I tell my parents all the time, like, yo, if y'all hear anything or anything sound crazy, somebody call and it sound like me and they say I'm arrested and I need bond or money, don't believe them unless I do get arrested and I need bond or money. Like literally, I told y'all before, I think I gave my parents like a password because it's like people using AI to steal your voice and call like your parents and tell them you've been arrested for something goofy and pay this to the Bills bondsman via Cash App and all this crazy shit. And I was like, yo, this is the password. If I don't say it, don't send it. But trust me, you'll know if I really locked up and I need you to come pay that bond. My mom's will probably be the last person I call to pay my bond. I call my pops because my pops more likely to understand, like, oh man, this dude locked up. Not my mom's though. My mother gonna be like, all I can do is pray for you. And those prayers ain't gonna pay that bond. But a terrible story. I don't know. They said she was dealing with cancer last year, so the way they worded it as if it was in remission. But hopefully that those doofuses have some types of assets where the money can be recouped. Oftentimes that's not the case, though. A lot of times when you have scams conducted by persons who are non-U.S. citizens, a vast majority of that money is already gone out of the country, is somewhere else. And typically people get back pennies on the dollar when it comes to this type of stuff. It's a common remote software used by scammers. Never install software in your computer directed by someone on the phone. 100%, that's completely 100% accurate. Given to you on a phone, something that comes through on an app, any of that type of stuff is probably a finesse, is probably a scam. I actually had one, I think somebody tried to get me. I got like a notice in an email and it was like, Marcus, we acquired your debt from QVC and you owe us this amount of money. And I was like, who the fuck is QVC? I was like, I don't even know, like, I was like, I got a debt with QVC, but then it was for like something like $200. And I was like, who the fuck is QVC? So I Googled it and I was like, QVC? That's like the At-Home Shopping Network TV channel. I was like, man, my black, I've never, if it was the TikTok shop, maybe, but I've never ordered anything off of QVC. And so, interestingly enough, it wasn't a scam. It was just some dumbass people. Because I called them and I essentially said, look, it's one of two things. Either y'all trying to scam me, and if y'all trying to scam me, that's going to be really bad for you because trust me, I work at a place where we can reverse engineer this and find out exactly where you're calling from. Or you all are just stupid and you all don't know how debt defaults, acquiring a debt, and the law works. Because it was the latter, not the former, but people send those type of things all the time. So most times if you see something you don't recognize, I would probably say don't even call them back. Definitely don't click on anything. And most legit things that are problems like that, you're going to get correspondence like in the mail. Like very rarely hardly if ever is a bank going to call you or send some shit to your printer. So just be aware. And if you got seniors out there, older people in your family who you give a damn about, make sure you give them a heads up that they got to keep their head on the swivel. All right, let's go ahead and pivot. Shout out to all my folks from Illinois, from Chi-Town, all those areas, the South suburban area, all of that good stuff. Y'all let me know. I'm definitely thinking about moving there and running for office because I can have 2 jobs and make a lot of money. And like I said, I won't steal. I won't take bribes. I'm not going to bill for shit that I can't bill for. I just want to be able to have 2 jobs and get 2 salaries without it being a conflict. So let's check out this school superintendent who made damn near $500,000 a year. Now, the interesting thing is, I don't know if you all remember when we were going down the whole Tiffany Henyard hole and all the debauchery, the tomfoolery that was going on, but there was a rumor going around that she was trying to get a seat on like the school board or something as a school superintendent. And I remember at the time saying, who the fuck would want to be if I'm trying to finesse money, the last thing I would want to be is a school superintendent. Like they make decent salaries in some places, but not that good of a salary. But let's take a listen at how this school superintendent came up with $500,000 a year.
ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
Now, NBC5 investigates a local public school superintendent who's made more than $500,000 a year, paid by the taxpayers of South Suburban Dalton and River.
That's fucking crazy. That's actually crazy. I don't understand how in Illinois you can have multiple jobs at conflict. I haven't even watched this. I'm assuming that he's doing this and something else, and he has multiple jobs that's combining for all of these incomes. Or the motherfucker could, or he just could be stealing like hell and doing all sorts of illegal stuff. It's probably illegal stuff if it's on the news, but I don't know.
For Dale. And according to census data, people who live in those communities make on average 1/10 of what they're paying this superintendent.
So what have they gotten for all this money they've paid? Here's Regina Waldrop joining us live. Regina.
Alex, Allison, NBC5 investigating.
Shout out to Regina Waldrop. If she's talking a story about you, you probably doing some goofy shit.
Gates started asking questions about the superintendent a few weeks ago. In a letter dated today, he submitted his resignation.
All right, the fact that he resigned, I'm leaning now towards he did some criminal shit.
My name is Dr. Kevin J. Nolte, Superintendent of Schools.
Kevin Nolte has been with Dalton School District 148 for 9 years. In that time, his salary and benefits have nearly doubled to more than $500,000 for this past school year. He's paid more than any other public school superintendent in Illinois.
God damn, yo, I'm about to go be a school superintendent. Yo, shout out to school superintendents making $500,000 a year. Bruh,
Even more than most of the presidents of Illinois public universities. But during Nolte's time in charge, the Illinois State Board of Education says the Dalton district finances have steadily gotten worse, to the point where the state put the district on its watch list.
their financial status getting worse is terrible, but and it's probably piss poor management. Now I'm interested to see if they got evidence of them actually doing something or him doing something illegal to put them in that situation. But as far as I heard, the $500K was his salary just for this one job. That's wow, damn, I'm doing the wrong shit.
Only district in Cook County that currently has this lowest rating. That didn't keep the school board from giving Nolte another raise of $60,000 over the next 2 years in a raucous session this past March.
Wow. Oh, my God. It's not going to end well.
Residents there spoke up.
$500,000. This district is on financial watch with the state. I don't know if you all knew that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Financial watch. Why are we considering such an amount?
We have been asking that same question.
They giving this dude $500,000 and it look like he don't even do his job good. You making $500,000, you gotta be the shit.
With no response from anyone until this afternoon, when Nolte's attorney reached out to say that Nolte resigned from his job effective today. His attorney saying in part because school board members had launched a smear campaign against him, riddled with baseless accusations. Keep in mind, this is not the first time that Nolte has had issues with the school districts he's worked for.
Now, real quick, generally when a politician has some accusation or something like this come up and they resign, it's either for one or two reasons, or both. It could be a combination of the two. But normal, it's either because of A, they have enough of a bag where they can walk away and don't got to worry about this salary no more. That's a possibility. Or it's because of B, they've likely done some illegal shit, and staying in that position will open them up to more exposure, so they just kind of walk away. It could be both, but so far from what I'm hearing, that's just the salary. If anybody should be beefing, it should be, but that's how that shit go. The school board is approving to bump his salary up. They probably approving to bump their shit up. Like it's all a finesse at the end of the day. Nobody want to do their job. Everybody want to get the biggest bag without having no accountability for it, or even being fucking mediocre at your job. Like, god damn.
Like this. In 2012, the Lincolnwood School Board voted to dismiss Nolte from the job he had then as Lincolnwood's assistant superintendent for business. The district said Nolte failed to properly account for district funds, failed to make scheduled payments on two multi-million-dollar loans, which then defaulted, and failed to adequately account for $1.4 million in funds.
Yeah, he can't. $1.4 million came up missing on his watch. I ain't saying he stole it, but I would be looking at I'm not saying he stole it. If I'm doing the books and there's $1.4 million missing, I'm not saying I stole it, but if somebody's investigating, they should probably look at me.
Nolte said all the charges were false and politically motivated. He sued the district, but his case dismissed by the court. He then went to work for Harvey School District 152 in charge of business operations. It was there where NBC5 Investigates found, according to court records,
it's crazy. He just going from county to county, place to place, fucking everybody over.
that Nolte failed to inform the board of a transfer of $3.8 million out of the district's reserve funds. It's not clear where the money went, but the superintendent suspended Nolte with pay. The school
$3.8 million missing, and the superintendent suspends him with pay. And he probably was making $300,000 at the time this happened.
Board eventually brought him back, though he left a year later for Dalton. Now Nolte's former deputy superintendent in Dalton has filed a whistleblower lawsuit, saying she was fired earlier this year because she'd raised concerns related to fiscal mismanagement by Nolte, including his handling of $13 million of federal funds. Nolte has denied everything, saying the deputy superintendent was fired for cause. But over the past 2 decades, while Nolte oversaw finances for these and other school districts, NBC5 Investigates found he was dealing with personal financial issues as well. We found 8 lawsuits.
This shit is crazy. This dude is a sleaze bag. Like, he clearly doesn't do his job anywhere he go. Everywhere he go, millions of dollars is unaccounted for. The crazy part is all of this shit is in public record. All of these court cases they found, and everywhere else just keeps hiring them. And I'm sure they probably keep hiring them because, you know, like I said, the game is you scratch my back, I scratch yours. If I bring in somebody shady, hey, I give you a little bump, you finesse something for me, it is what it is.
Claiming that Nolte had not paid credit card bills and rent, totaling more than $52,000. We also found this foreclosure action, saying Nolte with his then wife hadn't made payments on their home's mortgage for a year and a half.
What the fuck is this dude on crack? This dude might be on crack, bro. He might be on crack. Having jobs, making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hey, that's a nice home. Having a nice home. What he was making, $52,000 in credit card debt, not paying your bills, bro. This dude, he might have had a gambling problem, or he might have been on, I don't know. That dude.
Eventually, they paid off the mortgage when they sold the house. We also found this, an arrest by the Illinois State Police from March 2024 for driving under the influence of alcohol in the I-90 tollway near Belvedere. This past...
All right, I'm through with this dude. This dude is an absolute goof troop, and that's ridiculous. I don't really care about his DUI. Typically, this is a public trust issue. This is just kind of the pattern that we see out of most politics, especially politics in Illinois. an unusually high salary for a public official raises questions about accountability and misuse of taxpayers' funds. Is kind of a creature of contract law. Most superintendents' contracts are legal agreements. Excessive pay may point to negligence, mismanagement, or corruption in the school board oversight. So it's possible, quite possible. I mean, like, there's a possibility that it was some quid pro quo. You do me a favor, I do you a favor. It's quite possible that, yo, we'll give you this pay raise if you kick back some money on that end. We'll give you 60, you give us 20 of that 60, and everybody come out on top. It could be a plethora of reasons. Resignations and accountability, stepping down doesn't erase scrutiny. Audits or investigations may still follow to determine if laws or ethics were violated. Honestly, I'll be honest, I don't think shit gonna happen to this guy. Like, nothing gonna happen to this guy. This appears to be his track record, dating all the way back to like 2012 when he first got into the superintendent game. It's just a money grab for him. He's not doing his job. And honestly, he resigned from this job. He sent a letter of resignation. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he just ran 2 or 3 counties over, get another job making a shitload of money, and just do the same thing. So, I don't know. It's getting goofy. Illinois politics is the craziest politics that I've ever seen. They got some weird rules. They got weird ethics rules that allows them to have multiple jobs that may have conflict of interest, but they can still get paid from each job. This shit is just crazy. Y'all let me know if y'all watching this and y'all from Illinois, y'all from Chicago, South Suburban area. Y'all let me know what y'all think. That story is crazy. And now we are going to pivot into our headline story. We're going to talk about the Trump DC takeover. Now, I can tell y'all from my experience what is the sentiment that I'm getting from people in the city. Because people who stay out of the city, like they live in, places outside the city, I'll be honest, I don't really care what they think because they don't really know what's going on. I got like one of my homeboys who stay out in the county was like, yeah, but when you bring in more law enforcement, inherently more of us are going to get arrested, and like more people who commit crimes are going to get arrested. Now, if there are a bunch of stories about people who are having their like civil rights violated, that's one thing. But if it's more police arresting more people doing shit they ain't supposed to do, I generally don't have an issue with that. But it's 2 schools of theories I'm seeing on this. One side is a group of people saying this is an overreach. It's it's equivalent to martial law. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, people are saying, yo, is there a website where I could put in a request for them to come to my neighborhood and clean this shit up? Now, so this is actually interesting. I've spoken to people on both sides who stay in the most affluent neighborhoods, who stay in some of the worst neighborhoods. And generally what I'm seeing is people who are in the more affluent neighborhoods have a problem with it. People who are in neighborhoods that aren't as affluent are completely on board. Literally, they say, hey, I may not agree with everything Trump doing, but I agree with this shit. So let's take a look at this video. I think this video actually captures that. I think this DC takeover has a lot of support, more support than most people who are watching nationally are probably thinking from the Black community. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts, good, bad, and different. Now, there are some things that could be pitfall. We're going to talk about some legal concepts afterwards. But let's check out this video to see when they went to Ward 8, they went to talk. Let's see how folks are talking. The support for this, amongst Black folks in DC, a lot of people I'm talking to have no issue with it. They want to make sure those resources just don't go to affluent areas, but go to areas that have problems that need to be addressed.
7 News' Carl Willis is live near the Capitol tonight. And Carl, you spent the day in Ward 8, where neighbors say they haven't seen a change in enforcement there just yet.
Yeah, not yet, Scott, even as National Guard vehicles lined up over by the the Washington Monument, as you just showed us. But some of those who I spoke with in Southeast DC wonder if their neighborhood will get the same level of attention and if that's really what they need.
All right, so for those of you who aren't in the DC area, Ward 8, Ward 7, these areas are east of the river. These are the areas that have a higher poverty rate than some of the more affluent areas. And these are the areas where they actually need the most resources. So let's check out and see what the community is saying. A lot of people are on board. They just want to make sure, one, constitutional rights aren't violated, but more importantly, they want to be like, yo, bring your asses over here and clean this shit up too.
On this corner off of Minnesota Avenue in Southeast DC, those who live here and community leaders are talking about the Trump takeover.
I haven't seen the National Guard deployed. You don't know exactly where they are, what communities they're going into.
After speaking to Eugene Branch, National Guard vehicles were spotted near the Washington Monument.
Near the monument, I mean, yeah, y'all need to move those resources somewhere where they're more needed.
But Branch said it's his Ward 8 neighborhood that needs help fighting crime.
We haven't seen any of that over here in Southeast DC.
There's a part of this city that, as I say before, may have a cold, but this area has pneumonia. We need to make sure that there's justice for the whole city, that there's equal attention in terms of love and justice.
800 National Guard troops ordered to DC, but on day 2, Ward 8 A&T Andrea Davis says there has been no sign of the deployment here. But she also disagrees with the tactic.
This is not the answer, bringing the National Guard. We need more resources by way of more police officers. We need to get rid of the 2-year college requirement so we can bring forth more qualified candidates like Maryland and Virginia.
I don't know. I don't know necessarily if I understand why police officers would inherently want someone with a college, 2 years of college at a minimum to apply. I don't know if her statement is actually accurate, though. Let's get rid of the 2-year college requirement so we can have more qualified people. You may have more police officers, but you may not have more qualified officers. You may not have more officers who have the intellectual ability to be able to know how to diffuse a situation as opposed to make a situation worse.
If you were to see, like we mentioned, boots on the ground, would that be something that would make you feel safer?
I do want to see my people taken care of. I want to see the people that work hard every day supported. And we want to see people being helped. I don't want to see my people be harmed and used and abused.
This shouldn't be about one part of the city feeling safe. It should feel like the whole city wants to feel safe.
So it's a 30-day period. What do you expect to see in your community?
I just want to see change. I want to see our neighborhood clean. I want to see the schools safe for the children.
Now let's take a real quick look at some of the...
And first up here at 11 o'clock, 7 News on your side, taking a closer look at community reaction to National Guard and federal law enforcement presence in D.C. one week in. Good evening, I'm Josh Chapins. The patrols have resulted in more than 300 arrests so far. Our Christian Flores is speaking with residents across the district tonight.
Here at Union Station, National Guard troops are standing by. A White House official says they're here for crime deterrence. And over the past 10 days, with the federal troops being first deployed, we've been going around the city talking with residents, asking them how they feel about this presence, with more than 1,500 National Guard troops set to be here.
As National Guard troops and police.
Now, what I haven't been seeing, and I've had this discussion with somebody today, I haven't seen National Guard troops who came through who were armed. I know that's something that was discussed. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen any reports of that yet. That's going to be an interesting issue. We're going to talk about it. Let's finish watching just so we can get the stats real quick.
Officers have stationed at Union Station. Some DC residents are asking why this is necessary.
Because I think DC MPD was doing a great job.
Okay, no offense to this guy, but I guarantee you he don't stay in Minnesota Avenue and Southeast. I bet everything this guy right here does not stay in the neighborhood with them brothers we were talking about on the previous video. No shade to you, Maurice Lethbridge, but yeah, it's two schools of thoughts, and this school of thought comes from the people who normally are in the more affluent areas.
I think it's a heavy-handed presence.
However, take a drive to parts of the city plagued by violent crime.
There's a lot of stuff going on in this community that could benefit from increased policing.
And you will find residents and community leaders pining for more patrol, like in the Fairlawn community in Southeast DC, where we have reported on shell casings being left behind and a car riddled with bullet holes after recent shootings.
I saw MPD accompanied with ATF today, and they retrieved a firearm.
This video capturing arrests and officers seizing a handgun.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you.
A White House official says officers have made 308 arrests and confiscated 53 firearms since this operation began 10 days ago.
So, hey, I don't know. I think that I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, like, hey, let it ride, see how this thing plays out. I think the crime here is clearly an issue. Anybody who doesn't say that is or believe that, they probably don't live in the city. And I do agree. I said this actually when this first started, that I think that the crime stats or numbers that are fudged, I just know how they do. They'll call an armed robbery a theft. They'll call a sexual assault just an assault. Is all types of fucking games that goes on in place. I don't personally have any issue with it. I want to see just kind of where things go. Now, real quick, let's talk about the use of the National Guard, because it's actually interesting. It's actually pretty nuanced according to the law, and it depends on if the National Guard is called out by the governor of a state or if it's a federal National Guard, depending on how the federal rules would apply and what the National Guard can and can't do. So like we talked about before, the federal government's jurisdiction over DC is just something that was enacted based on how the district was established. It was essentially a playground for Congress. In 1973, Congress passed the Home Rule Act, which granted DC limited self-government through an elected mayor and city council. Congress retains authority over local laws and budgets, and the federal government maintains control over certain functions like the National Guard and prosecutorial power. So that's kind of an overview of the Home Rule Act. Now, when it comes to the National Guard being used to engage in law enforcement tactics, it could be problematic, but let's talk about the legalities of that. The Posse Comitatus Act was established in 1878. It limits the use of the U.S. Army, Air Force, and domestic law enforcement unless authorized by Congress or the Constitution. It's intended to prevent the military involvement in civilian matters, and it's clearly implicated in what we're seeing with this DC takeover with federal troops, as it would trigger or could trigger serious constitutional issues. One, DC isn't a state, so federal authority is broad, but the Home Rule Act and the Posse Comitatus Act clearly set some limits on what can go on. Now, additional notes on the Posse Comitatus Act and the National Guard, because the National Guards are the people who are in play here. The act prohibits the use of the U.S. Army and the Air Force to enforce domestic laws without explicit authority from Congress or the Constitution. DoD regulations extend this to the Navy and the Marine Corps as well. The National Guard is different, and its role depends on whether it's under the authority of the state or under federal control. National Guard under state authority. Again, if the National Guard is under state authority, they're not bound by the Posse Comitatus Act when activated by the governor. They can be armed, they can assist police, and they can make arrests. They can act like a state militia, essentially, with law enforcement police authority. Now, if the National Guard is under federal control, they're treated like the U.S. Army, and they have to comply with the Posse Comitatus Act. They cannot generally perform law enforcement functions, arrests. They can't do arrests, certain type of searches or seizures. They can only do that if they're authorized by Congress, which they haven't been yet. Now, they still can be armed, but their police powers are limited. I, to date, haven't seen any videos of National Guard members armed. Now, let's talk about this from a common sense standpoint, because what you see now, if you see videos, you see a lot of law enforcement, DEA, Homeland Security out here on the street making arrests, and their whole face is covered up. All you can see is their eyes. And someone asked me today, I don't like how these federal officers and law enforcement agencies are out here making arrests and they got their whole face covered up. People should be able to see them. I generally agree with that. If you're in the community, you're out making arrests in the community, people should be able to see you, know who you are. But I also understand why they have their face covered up. And when I explained it to this young lady, she was like, oh, I didn't think about that, but that makes sense. Think about it. If you got a bunch of DEA agents, FBI agents, who are probably working investigations into cartels, narco trafficking, money laundering, FBI may be looking at some crazy cult shit. You got agents who are working all of these very high level, very extreme cases. And even if they aren't, a lot of times agents have to protect their anonymity so they can be in play for if they're engaged in an undercover operation, or an alternative if they're used to engage in an undercover operation in the future. So I generally agree with the principle that if someone is out here in the community making arrests, people should know who the hell they are. But I also understand why they're covered up. These DEA agents, FBI agents, they normally not out here interacting with the community like that. Some of them could have got pulled or likely got pulled off of other investigations that they're doing. And in those investigations, their anonymity, people not being able to see their face could be paramount. It could be a life or fucking death situation. This is some shit that I deal with in cases I have every day. So I definitely understand both sides of it. But, some people were just confused as to why their face is covered up. I think it's less to be secretive, but it's more so to protect themselves and other investigations, because they aren't doing this shit normally, so they normally wouldn't have to be all covered up because they normally don't have so much public exposure with citizens and the news holding cameras up and everything. That's point number one. Point number two, I do have real concerns with activating National Guards from West Virginia, Alabama, places that aren't inner city environments. Now, to date, I haven't seen any of them armed, thank goodness. I do think if they become armed, it could be a real problem. Why is that a real problem? Or why would it be a real problem? Let's just think about this. I know how state, local, federal law enforcement officers are trained. They go through an intensive training, and this training has a large amount of legal instruction on the use of force. When can you make an arrest? When do you have probable cause? When is an extended circumstance to make an arrest without a warrant or conduct a search without a warrant? All of these things, these guys get tens of, if not hundreds of hours of training on this as they go through their initial training. They get yearly updated training. They get training on updated laws that impact the use of force. So local law enforcement, federal officers, at least they have training on the use of force and know the do's and don'ts so they don't get themselves in a pickle. Let's talk about the National Guard. The National Guard that deploying are not all military police. It could be cooks. It could be shower specialists. It could be people who are fuelers in the military. It could be a computer IT guy. These are people who just have different jobs, none of which have any training in law enforcement, none of which have any training in use of force. And one thing that will be an issue is if you give somebody a firearm and they don't have use of force training when it comes to the civilian use of force in the military use of force, which you can do under the Uniform Code of Military Justice versus civilian use of force, are two different standards. And that shit could get somebody in a lot of trouble and it could go really bad. So that's the reason why I'm a little bit apprehensive about arming National Guards, because they don't have the training. Not all of them are military police. It's just some 18 and 19-year-old who's probably signed up out of high school and wanted to, hey, I'm going to take up, I don't know, automotives in the military so I can work on 5 tons and Humvees and I can transition that when I get out. What the hell do they know about engaging in law enforcement activity? That shit would be a colossal failure to give them law enforcement authority or to actually arm them. Memphis, St. Louis, Detroit, DC, and Baltimore. Hey, I don't disagree that there's a lot of crime there. And the last point with the National Guard is, it's interesting where they're pulling the National Guard from. It's mostly coming from red states, are what I'm seeing. It's not inherently a problem, but normally when you talk about local law enforcement, police officers, there's normally a tendency to want to hire police officers who are from the community that they're protecting. And there's a reason behind that, because they're familiar with the norms and the cultures. I always use the example, if you take me, a city guy, who, hey, I'm used to being in an urban city environment, and you drop me off in the middle of the jungle with a firearm. If I see a tiger, I'm probably going to pull out a firearm and shoot the tiger no matter what. Or if I'm walking and I'm walking in the jungle, you drop this city dude off in the jungle, I'm in the jungle and I'm walking with my gun, and I hear weird noise and some leaves rustle behind me, there's a likelihood that I'm going to turn around and start shooting just because I'm not familiar with the environment. I don't know what is a threat, what isn't a threat. And that same thing holds true. If you get a bunch of non-law enforcement trained soldiers who may be plumbers, they may make showers, they may work in IT or communications, you give them law enforcement authority without the appropriate training, they aren't familiar with the environment, they're from areas that aren't urban areas, it's probably going to be a recipe for disaster. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. As it stands right now, I haven't seen any National Guard with firearms. So, hey, more power to you. So far, I'm on a camp of let it ride. Make sure you target areas that actually need it. It would actually be dope if they had like a website you can go to where people could be like, hey, you should go to this area or that area because these are areas that are high crime. But, you know, that shit will get flooded so fast. But like I said, at the end of the day, hey, in a lot of communities east of the river, a lot of support from the Black community for this plan to target crime in DC. Because for a long time, people feel like the mayor, the city council, MPD weren't doing their job. I think it's a twofold aspect because I've seen this from a community that I stay in. A lot of people complain about a problem and won't do it. It requires work on both sides to be able to alleviate a problem. But now, hey, sometimes, what is it? To make an omelet, you have to break a few eggs. Hopefully no eggs get broken and there's nothing major. But as it stands right now, I'm going to wait and see. Let's see how far it goes. Let's see how consistent it is. Let's see how they're going to target the areas that are the high crime areas. If they do that, it can make some headway and they just aren't out here like violating people's civil rights like some New York, sticking plungers in and doing crazy stuff like that. I think a lot of people, you'll be surprised, are not going to have an issue with it. You all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Hey, that's it for this video. It's late. I'm going to get out of here. I haven't even eaten anything yet. Your boy's starving. Hey, I appreciate it. Y'all let me know what y'all think. What was the most interesting story of the night? I'll probably chop this up and put them out in separate videos as well. And I'll see y'all for, I might have to do another live stream on, what I do on Friday? I don't know. My son rolling out back to school Saturday. So I don't know. I may or may not see y'all Friday. But in any event, I do love y'all. I do appreciate y'all. And I'm grateful for y'all support. Nah, you got Southeast, Northeast, Ward 7, Ward 8, It's crazy. Like for the longest, they may still have 1 or 2 grocery stores. Like they didn't have shit over here. Nobody wanted to do anything, so they need to point resources. But that area, sis, in the video, Minnesota Avenue. If you ride up and down Minnesota Avenue, it'll take you from Ward 7 in Northeast to Ward 8 in Southeast. So there's a few areas east of the river. And I actually was on a phone call because, the areas that are the poorest get the least amount of treatment. Like they have like halfway houses for people who get out of custody to get back into the community so they can become a productive citizen. But what good does it do if the halfway house is in the community when they go right outside of their front door? They could do whatever the fuck it is that they shouldn't be doing. Like it kind of makes no sense. And now there's an actual push in Ward 7 and Ward 8 where they're actually providing a lot of the citizens are putting pushback like, yo, it makes no sense. These are the areas that have the most need for law enforcement assistance. Why y'all keep throwing these halfway houses and things like that in these areas? These places need to be in areas where the pitfalls that these people normally see are not readily available. Share the wealth. Put some of that shit over there where Obama and them living at. But, there is a push. Communities do come together, but it takes time. And more importantly, it takes money. If investors don't see a reason to build up an area, a lot of times law enforcement and politicians aren't going to see a reason to give a damn about the area. Unfortunately, but that's the name of the game. Yo, that's it for this video. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Y'all take care, be safe, be blessed, have a good night. Peace.